hear me. I hope you're all well as well, keeping safe with everything that's going on back home. So my name is Marigold Siandila. I am the communications manager at the Runway. And we're here just to talk to you guys. If you have any questions, there's time at the end for you guys to ask a few things. So, before I continue, just some housekeeping. Please have your mic on mute until we get to the questions and at the end, and then you can unmute if you want to. But if you do have questions along the way, feel free to put it in the chat and we'll get to the questions as we go through the session. And then for those of you who can, please have your cameras on so we can see you, so we can see who we're interacting with. It'd be lovely to see you. And then lastly, the session is being recorded. So I hope everyone's okay with that. And for those of you who are interested, the session will be available to view afterwards on one of our platforms, or you can just email us at the Runway to request it. Okay. So, sorry. The agenda for today is, so we've just done arrivals and welcome. We'll quickly introduce the Runway. It was meant to be Tenol. I'm not sure if he's on the call. If he's not, I will pick that up. From there, we will have one of our student reps. So he's just completed his A-levels. Give information on some of the sessions that we have and the programs that we offer students. Then we'll have a little bit of a motivational talk by me, myself, and Refilwe. She'll introduce herself as we go on through the talk. Then she'll also pick up routes to studying abroad for those of you that are interested in studying abroad. Then Tapang will talk about some study tips, to help you guys as, you're going through your final year. I gotta let my phone 5. And then if you have any questions, literally anything that you want to ask us, feel free to do so at the end. And we're hoping that our president will pop in towards the end. She's currently on another meeting, but if she has time, she'll pop in. If not, we will close, and then that will be us. Do you know?
Yes, I'm in the call.
Hi, Tinder. Do you want to give us a quick introduction?
Okay. Can you just give me 2 minutes? There's something wrong with my internet.
No problem. I think while he's setting up the speakers, if you could please each introduce yourself. So like I said, my name is Marigold Siandila. I've just finished my master's at the University of Kent in the UK.
Guys, my name is Refilwe Modise, and I just graduated undergraduate actuarial science from the University of Kent.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tsapang John Malatedi, and I just finished my A-levels at Marwabula, and I'll be heading off to Canada in September to do my first year. After my first year, I will go into either actuarial science or data science. Yeah, that's me.
Fantastic. Tenol, are we good?
We are good. Hello, and thank you, Marigold, for the quick intro of everyone. My name is Tenolo Mokwetsi. I'm the VP organization that sets out to assist students, to assist them to leave for studying in different countries such as Russia, the UK, or any country where Botswana students are getting sent out. we assist students during the time that they are in their studies with issues related to mental health, professional skills development, and so on. And we also help students reintegrate into the Botswana market when they graduate or leave their studies. So that's basically a nutshell of what the Runway does. We currently have representation in Cuba, we have representation in Russia, as well as the United Kingdom, and Cuba, United Kingdom, Russia. That's about it. So have somebody who is assisting us in Botswana. Of the preparation part, which is basically motivating students, encouraging them to go out and study abroad, and also giving them tips or advices on what to expect and what they should probably do in order for them to prepare and become the best possible students that they can be before they get to the countries of their study. Thank you.
Yeah, so Tepang now will give us some of the sessions that students can attend, what programs we have.
Okay, hello everyone. As I said before, I'm Tapanjan Malatedi. I just finished my A-levels. I'm not sure if I forgot to say that I'm also the head of the student reps for the Runway. So I'm the person who works hand in hand with Refilwe and other people to make information sessions and make sure that we are getting as much information as we can to the students. Basically, the main aim of our information sessions is to make sure that we can equip students with as much information as we can so that they can make well-informed decisions when it comes to course selection, choosing your study destination, and life in general as a student. So we have different types of sessions. The first talk about are just generation sessions. And these usually are focused on topics that we choose to be focused around. So far, we've had only one information session, and that information session, we had different reps from different countries talk about studying in respective countries. They tackled lifestyle, the kind of food they have in their countries, the culture shocks that they experience, and stuff like that. And it was a really good information session because we managed to have a good attendance and we got good feedback from students about it. The second session that I'll talk about is the pre-departure session, which is currently ongoing, and it is basically focused on students who are about to leave. And basically what the Runway is doing is helping them to get ready to leave. So far, we've had sessions based on topics like finances, self-discovery, accommodation, departure and arrival. Then the last session that I'm going to talk about is the course selection information session. And this one is a new baby for us because we are still trying to arrange for its start. Hopefully it will start next week. This session is basically focused on trying to help students get enough information to kind of make well-informed decisions when it comes to course selection. So we will be going through different course selections and course combinations in different countries. And that's coming up soon. So I would suggest that everyone should follow the Runway and wait for our notices. Yeah, so basically these are the information sessions that we have in the Runway. And I guess I've covered what I was supposed to cover. Thank you.
Yeah, that is basically it. So like you were saying, to follow us, we have a LinkedIn, Facebook, we'll pop in our information in the chat towards the end. So now we'll give kind of like a mini motivational talk. My bit, I'm going to be talking about learning how to prioritize and procrastination. I feel like as a student, we all are prone to procrastinating. Like you'll have something to do and then you'll push it. You'll be like, no, I'll do it later. But very often later becomes either like pretty last minute to your deadline or even never. And just learn. So I'll give a few tips on how to better prioritize some of the things that you need to do. So firstly, if say you have things you know you need to do over the course of the week, start with making a list. I'm a very strong believer in lists, and I like to put them on Post-it notes. Here's a very clear example. I always have a lot of these hanging about because it's easy to forget if you have to do something and it's like a small task as well. So it's really good to make sure you write down everything you need to do and understand the difference between something that is urgent and something that is important. So urgent is, okay, I need to do this thing right now, but important. But if it's something important, it may not exactly feel urgent, but if you don't do that thing, it may affect your long-term goals. It may affect the overall quality of what it is you need to do. So make sure you can list down things in order of importance rather than urgency, because you can think something is important just because you have to do it now, but it's really not. And then from there, you will need to, after understanding what is important and what isn't important, break down that thing into smaller tasks. Say on a Sunday, you list down, okay, this week I have to study for say you have a maths test on the Friday or something. You say, I need to study for my maths test. Break down what exactly it is you need to study for your maths test. Don't just say, I'll study 4 hours, because if you bulk it up like that, it's very easy to be demotivated to study for the full 4 hours, and you can easily get distracted because you think, oh, it's a lot of time, I can get it done. Rather, break it down into topics or chapters that you want to cover, and also into time slots. So what I like to do is to study in like chunks. I'll do maybe 45 minutes, 50 minutes of studying, and then take a 10-minute break. That way your mind can kind of like reset, or like at least slow down enough for you to feel like, okay, no, this is not a lot of work. It gives you enough time to take a breather. And also it doesn't overwhelm you with the amount of work that you need to do, especially if you're studying for long periods of time, like I said, the 4 hours. So make sure you break that down, and then use that break as your time to go on your phone or to do something. So if you're going to be studying, put your phone away. You will 100% be distracted if your phone is near you. Put it away, put it on silent wherever it is. If you have a study table wherever you're doing your work and your phone is like on your bed or something, make sure it's on silent and you can't see it. That way you don't get the temptation to stand up and go check your messages. You can do that in the 10 minutes you have allotted for your break. And then have an overall like goal of what you want to do, which is what one I'm going to talk about just now. Have an overall goal of what you want to do. If for this maths test you want to get, say, I don't know, 70, 80, put in the work. Know how much work you need to put in to get that outcome, because you can't do the bare minimum and expect to get the greatest result. And I'm guessing all of you at least want to do well enough to pursue whatever dream it is you have. And if you follow these things, it's harder to procrastinate because you've allocated time to that thing you want to do. And then if you want to chill, if you want to, go out with your friends or something, hang out, you can do it once you've done all of these things, and you don't have to feel guilty about it when you're outside. Yeah, that's it for me. I'll hand over to Fifi.
Hi guys. So I guess I introduced myself already. My name is Fifi. You guys could call me Rufibe. Oh, my name is Rufibe. You guys could call me Fifi. I'm the VP Programs and Initiatives of the Runway. And like I said, I just graduated. It's been an interesting journey, a very, very, very long one, which is sort of why I'm going to talk about motivation on a long-term basis. So looking back to when I was sort of your ages, I was in Form 4, Form 5, trying to figure out my way, where I was going. I think growing up, I always had this stereotypical, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, but I was getting to a point where I was realizing I didn't really want to do sciences. I didn't want to do law. I really didn't want to do a lot of things that were quite popular, like careers that were quite popular, and I didn't know what I particularly wanted to do. So the problem for me was that I didn't have vision yet. But that was solved because not long after, I think when I was doing Form 5, I had someone introduced to me actuarial science, which seemed like the perfect course, the perfect mix of everything that I sort of wanted. So the vision was now sort of there. And a few weeks after, we had Mr. Adu, who's the A-level coordinator. He came to see us and chat to us about the top achievers scholarship. And that was now sort of introducing a means to my vision. So I now had a sort of, okay, I think I want to do actuarial science now. It's not available in the country. Okay, I could possibly do it overseas since there is a scholarship. So it's it was a very important moment for me because it's very important to have vision because it directs your steps, directs your efforts. Goes back to what Marigold was saying about planning. If I know my vision is to be an actuary, I know, okay, being an actuary means going to uni outside. It means getting the 6 A stars. It means, okay, it's May right now and I need to be getting 6 A stars in October, which means between now and then, what do I have to do? So you can sort of be able to better plan your race if you sort of know your destination, know how fast you're supposed to be running. So a vision is very important. And now maintaining your vision now is where it's going to take me towards vision boards. So vision boards are, I'm sure you guys probably know vision boards, but basically just taking a board, could be quite physical, or doing it on your phone and just having pictures of things that you envision for yourself. So it could be career related, it could be a car, it could be a house, it could be anything, but basically everything that you want for yourself, that you are striving for, that you are working towards, have it on your vision board. So that's something that you can use on an everyday basis to sort of remind you of what your vision is, what you are working towards. You can get to a point where you know, okay, this is reminding me every day. I need to be sacrificing every day, and it's not hard to sacrifice if you are sort of reminded, and it's a very positive outlook of your future, right? So I remember during my time, I didn't have a vision board, but I had folders on my phone, and there was houses, there was cars, there was other stuff. There was food. I loved food. So I'd take pictures on the internet of like really, really fancy looking food, freak shakes, things we don't have in Botswana. Really, really, really good looking houses, things like that. And I look back now and I realize those were things that really were able to motivate me. Every time I kind of felt demotivated, very or when everything was seeming very daunting, I just opened my phone and on my wallpaper is beautiful interior of a house, and I'm just like, okay, this is what we are working towards, so it sort of keeps you motivated and stuff like that. So basically, it's very important to have a vision, have a plan. From your vision, set your strategy. And then the most important thing is to actually do the work. So you can have all the visions and the vision boards and everything that you need. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to actually take that plan and put it into action. Yeah. So that's all for me. If you guys learned a bit, I will pass over to Tenola.
Okay, so thank you, Fifi and Marigold, for the talks. I'm going to be basing mine on, well, I'm going to be connecting the aspect of planning that Marigold was talking about and the aspect of vision that Fifi just mentioned, but talking more about the many options that you possibly could have when it comes to studying abroad and so on, and basing it on my experience. I don't know if you know the many scholarships that are available, but we don't just have the top achiever scholarship where you're required to have 6 A stars, or I don't know how many A stars you're required to have now. And sometimes it can be a bit demotivating for you if you're somebody who feels that you are not performing to that level. I remember my first option was for me to study in the UK or the United States of America through the Top Achiever Scholarship. Unfortunately, when I finished my Form 5, I got 1 A star, and that was in math. I also wanted to do actuarial science, just like Fifi, but I'm here now studying something else, which is something that I will talk to you about as I continue speaking. I then decided that I still want to go abroad and I do not want to study locally. And I went to do my A levels still at LKC, which is where I studied before. And I wanted to get 3 A's in order for me to get accepted into the Top Achiever Scholarship after my first year of Form 6. Unfortunately, I didn't get these 3 A's. I think I had a B, a C, and an A, B, C. I don't remember quite well. And at that moment, my parents were quite unsure whether I would be able to travel and go and study abroad. And they were pressuring me to apply for study in in UB. And I kept on telling them that, you know what, I'm going to leave this country one way or the other. I'm going to find a way. I know that I'm going to study abroad. And this goes back to the vision or the goal aspect that the girls were talking about, because that was my vision. That was something that I wanted to achieve at that moment. And that was me leaving and going to study abroad, getting to meet new people, getting to live and understand different cultures and so on. But in terms of my planning, I initially had that plan of getting accepted into a scholarship immediately after Form 5. It failed. I went again and had another goal for me to get accepted after my first year of Form 6. It also failed. And it was quite demotivating for me, but I still continued anyway. I did 2 full years of A levels. And even after those 2 years of A levels, I still didn't get accepted because I still didn't get the marks that I was required to get in order for me to get accepted into this. Late in my second year of A levels, I started to hear about scholarships in China, scholarships in Russia, and so on and so forth. But the one thing that I didn't like about them was the fact that I had to study in a different language. And I was like, do I see myself going and learning in Chinese, in Russian, or whatever other language that they are offering? But at the back of my mind, I was like, you know what? I want to leave. And I said, I want to leave. And obviously, I'm not going to be able to go to the UK or the USA like I had hoped. And these are the only other options that I have if I do want to go, because I mean, Botswana wasn't on the table as well because of my academic performance. I remember I even applied at the time. I applied for 3 scholarships, which were for Japan, China, and Russia. The Japan one was a highly optimistic one because they required me to do a test in Japanese. I went there anyway, knowing very well that I have no knowledge whatsoever of Japanese, and it was it was a daunting experience, if I can say that. But at that time, I just wanted to go for any possible opportunity that I could, literally try anything that could help me get an opportunity to study abroad. I did get scholarships, which is something that I forgot to mention. As the rest of my classmates, Fifi and everybody else, were applying for university in the USA, in the UK, I did that as well. I did get a scholarship for the United States, but it was half of the tuition per year. And unfortunately, we come from different backgrounds, and unfortunately, when I say we, I mean my family couldn't afford to, compensate for the other 50% that was required. And lastly, in the end, I was accepted to come to Russia. I had no knowledge of what Russia is, what to expect in Russia, what kind of people are here, and so on, which brings me to the other aspect that I will talk about when it comes to your planning and your goal setting. If you know, for example, that you want to study abroad, and it's not even about studying abroad alone, it even begins at the point where you decide what you want to study at the age that you are in, and I think this is something that the rest of the guys can attest to, there's a lot of information. There are a lot of things that you could possibly do. There are a lot of places that you could possibly study in, and the information is overwhelming. And you do need somebody who will be able to explain to you, either through the experiences that they have gone to, or what the course is about in their own words, talking to people who have gone through those experiences or are currently studying abroad or even studying locally but doing those courses. Because we do have people who, again, are like me and say, I just want to leave the country, I want to go out, and they just pick any course that they want, and they get there and they realize that, oh, it's not what I expected it to be. And this can be a real challenge for you, because it can be very demotivating for you to study something that you end up realizing that is not your thing. Something like you deciding to go and study medicine, and then you realize that, but I didn't really like sciences. Maybe I should have gone and done business. And depending on the scholarship, or depending on who is going to be funding your tuition, it's not really that easy for you to jump from one course to another in the middle, or whatever the case is. And also in terms of applying for universities themselves, not only talking about the countries, that is also another important aspect for you to have communication with people and getting as much information as possible, and not applying blindly, because this is something that the rest of us did. And some of us, well, not me, but people that I know are suffering from that kind of decision making and the actions that they took, especially if you're going to be applying for other scholarships, either in China, in Russia, Japan, or any other scholarships that are available that are not part of the Top Achievers program. Because you don't know what is in that country, you don't know the reputation of these universities. And there have been instances where somebody's just like picking a university because it's a university, and the websites are in Russian or in Chinese, and they don't understand what's going on. And you really find out that I really needed that guidance or assistance from people. So the main thing, just to summarize here, is if you are planning on studying abroad, one, there are a lot of opportunities out there in terms of scholarships. It's not just Top Achievers. Go out there, explore, find out what is there, find out what is the right fit for you, taking into consideration your current performance, what your desires, and the programs that are available in those different places. And for you to take note of the fact that the whole studying abroad thing can be really overwhelming, not just you preparing to go, but you studying in that particular place, or you trying to understand what options you will have after you complete your studies. So do reach out to people as much as possible. If you don't have people that you can reach out to, people like Marigold are here, people like Fifi are here. These are people that you can get in contact to and get to learn more about the countries that they're studying in, and the courses that they're doing. And also, do not be afraid. Like, just try and just go for any opportunity that you can, whether you have a strong feeling that you're going to make it or not. Just do it. Sometimes you even surprise yourself and find that you got accepted for an opportunity that you really didn't think that you would have, or where you felt that maybe you are not enough, or you are lacking in something, and so on. And the final thing that I would like to address as a summary is resilience and perseverance. Like, even if you have goals or plans that you have set, like, don't just have one goal, like have multiple possibilities that you can explore, because if the first one fails, that's not the end of the world. You can always go and try something else instead of just you giving up immediately. And this goes also, whether it's university life or whether it's you planning for your studies now, because you'll be writing exams and so on, the same thing applies. While you apply those principles that Marigold was talking about when it comes to your studies and so on and so forth, if you do understand that the way that you are studying, for example, is not working and is not helping you, this is the time for you to reassess and try to find out what works best for you in order for you to gain the most out of your studies or your experiences at large. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about, and I will hand over back to Marigold.
Thank you, Tsanolo. Yeah, that also spoke to me as well. Just finishing school, like learning now, what do I want to do next? What's my next steps? And now we'll go on to Tapang. He'll talk to you guys about study methods. He just finished his A levels. He got accepted into a good university. So he'll be talking to you guys about some study tips and what you guys can do.
Okay. Study tips. I feel like this task is a bit difficult for me because in my Form 5, I think I was just studying. I had my goals, of course, but I was just trying to go through my stuff and I didn't really have a solid plan. I just timetabled my stuff and, got by and got the grades that I got. But when it came to A levels, I met a whole different beast that forced me to upgrade the way I did things. And I'd just like to share some of the things that I feel are very important in building your path to success. The first thing I want to talk about is the assimilation of knowledge. So basically, this has to do with note-taking and textbook reading. And this will be more on the science stuff of things. Basically, note-taking can be in two forms. You can either be using your notebook and taking down your notes with your pen and pencils, or you could be using your electronics. You could use your laptop or computer. In Form 5, I wasn't a gadgets guy. I was more of a notebook user. But in A levels, I did start using my laptop and I saw the advantages that using electronics had as compared to notebook taking. I used the application called OneNote, and it helped in the sense that I could annotate my notes. I could open PDFs in my books, and I felt like there was a lot of versatility there. But if you are using your notebooks, I feel like notebooks are very important for subjects like math and math-related subjects. And you could use those to do your work and assignments. And basically the approach is the same for both of them. When it came to science subjects, with regard to note-taking, I think the way that you take your notes is very important, because usually you would just think that note-taking is note-taking and you just have to listen to what the teacher is saying and go by your day. But there is a method that can help you retain as much information as you can. And basically what I did with this method is that I used to take down notes that the teacher would say, but then I would also leave a section of my notebook or a section of the page to write down summaries, write down questions, and I would later use these summaries and questions to revise. And I found this very helpful for subjects like biology, because you needed to retain a lot of information. Yeah. And one important thing about note-taking is asking yourself a lot of questions while doing that. I feel like it will help you actually connect topics, connect things that are there in your syllabus that aren't easy to see. And this would also help you with your application skills. Yeah, as I said before, recall was very important because you would have to actually have that information at the tip of your fingers when you're writing exams. So I used to do a lot of active recall when I still did biology. Yeah, and when we're talking about the math-related subjects, I think one important thing about math is that you have to do a lot of math to understand the concept and to get the flow of things, because you can't just sit down in a maths lesson and hope that you have understood everything, because usually exams test the ability to reason and to use what you've learned in the classroom and apply it to a specific situation. So it's very important for you to do your assignments, go the extra mile, and give yourself exercises, do past papers, and fully understand what the concept the topic is trying, what concept the topic is trying to teach you. When it comes to past papers and exercises, we had some students who, what could we say, did too much past papers and relied too much on the answer sheets. And I would recommend that do a lot of past papers, but don't, what can we call it? Actually try to understand what the marking key is saying, understand what the concept is, and be able to apply it to any question that might come your way. One thing that helped me with my past papers is this other template I used to use. I actually had to make it myself, and I'll make it available to anyone who wants it. I'm having a video that I'm releasing on my YouTube channel this weekend, and I'll put the link there so you guys can have access to it. And basically, I just use this template to record my marks and actually calculate my percentages, so that you wouldn't have to actually, go through, like, answer one paper and find that, oh, I've done this paper before, when you're halfway through it. Yeah, so basically having stuff like that, templates, things that you're using, and specific methods that help you study will actually help you get good marks. I think besides the assimilation of knowledge, the most important thing after that is what you do when you are evaluating your progress. And this usually has to do with what you do after you get your test results, after you get your papers. Do you just take your paper and just put it in your bag, or do you actually sit down to see which errors you've made and why you made those errors? Because I used to notice that I would get the marks that I didn't want to get, besides having studied for long periods of time. And when actually sitting down and being honest with myself, I would notice that I made a sign error on this question and it cost me 7 marks. I didn't substitute well in one question and it cost me another 5 marks. And that's what led to me failing. And I think having this kind of approach, looking at your errors, being honest with yourself, and actually categorizing your errors might help you to actually know what you're doing wrong. Because sometimes you might find that the problem is not that you don't understand the concepts. The problem might be that you're not paying attention when you're writing your papers, or you're making some silly mistakes. And it is very important to notice those errors well in time so that you can correct them. yeah, so besides that, I can say that studying comes with self-discovery also. You have to try a lot of things. Some are going to work, some are not going to work, but you have to continue improving your study techniques. And I'm sure that when taking all of these things into account, you'll be able to get the marks that you want and that you deserve. Yeah, I guess that's all from me. Back to Marigold.
Thank you. Yeah, so good. Always practice what you learned to make sure you actually got it. I remember I used to have problems with what's it called? Rates of change, differentiation, because I wouldn't substitute the right thing, and it'll just take me longer to do a sum. So the more you do something, the kind of easier it gets, because you start to see the tricks in each question. You'll start to understand like the easier way to answer something. So last on our agenda is Fifi is going to talk about the various routes to studying abroad, which is something Tenola has already touched on. So she'll kind of just elaborate further on that.
Yeah, I am going to touch on a few scholarships that are open to you guys. So the first one, well, the first office to know, basically, DTEF, DTEF. I hope you guys all know what that is, where it is, Block 6, Department of Tertiary Education Funding. So they have the Top Achievers Program. I think the requirements are still 6 A stars. So you have to do 6 A stars, and then they'll sponsor you for A levels, and then you can go abroad after. If you don't get the grades, I know they used to, like, you could sponsor your own A levels, and then if you meet the grades, 3 A's at A levels, they can sponsor you from then overseas. So that could also be an option if you don't manage to meet the grades. However, do check with them if they still offer these various options. I'm sure they do. Yeah, and then there is also the Botswana, and they do they sponsor engineering related courses. I think they put people through A levels in Botswana and then take them outside. They have specific courses. They don't do every single course, so you'd have to verify. I think they'll all sort of be out by next year. Yeah, probably by the February or March, we will know the various scholarships that are available. And then we have this Cuba, Russia, and China. So these are administered, I think, jointly with the government of Botswana. So you can go to Cuba for medicine, Russia, and China for anything. And including Cuba. The governments of those countries would cover things like accommodation. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, I think it's only accommodation. And then the government of Botswana would provide allowance for your living expenses. Yeah, and then the governments of those other countries also pay for tuition. So they cover tuition and your accommodation, provide your accommodation, which is why it's usually not really good accommodation. But it's for another day. And then there's the MasterCard scholarship. So that one, I know they use South Africa, Canada, America, various courses. You can also check that one next year. And lastly, what's probably not last, there's so many scholarships out there, but America does a lot of full ride scholarships. So if you go to just check out various universities, the universities that you're interested in, of the search scholarships in America, you will probably find a scholarship. Or if you do get accepted, your school will probably give you a scholarship. Not sure if they all do full ride, but many of them do full ride. So there is that sort of option. But otherwise, just start with DTEF. They will be able to provide a lot of information. I know there's so many more scholarships than this. There's scholarships, I think, administered the same way as Cuba, Russia, and China, and that go to, where is it? But yeah, you know what you know what I mean. But basically check the tip and then generally search. If you search scholarships online, you will find various scholarships. Most of them will probably be masters and PhD for like full ride, but you might be able to find something for your degree. Google search. Yeah, that's it for me. If you guys have any questions, now is probably the time.
Yeah, please feel free to unmute or type something in the chat. We are open to any question you may have. It can be regarding what we study, where we studied, or further tips on how to study. Anything. Don't be shy.
Yeah, say something.
Yeah, you can unmute. We see your hand raised.
Yeah, my question was on student loans and being sponsored. I wanted to just know the difference.
The difference between a student loan and sponsorship or scholarship.
Student. Yes, yeah, that.
Does anyone want to pick this up? Tenolo?
Okay, so I don't know the exact term for which, but I know the difference between the sponsorship and the scholarship. I know that for the people that are currently on the top achievers, correct me if I'm wrong, the tuition and everything is a loan that would need to be paid back, or you would need to go back to the country and work as an alternative, right, Mirgold?
Yes, that was the agreement when you sign your contract.
Yes, and that's the sponsorship or scholarship?
A scholarship.
Cool. And then ours is more of a sponsorship because we don't have to pay the money back. So that's the difference between the two. And also take into consideration that the scholarship, the programs are different. So for us who receive sponsorships, which is where you won't have to pay the money back, it's only money for living allowance or expenses. So to take care of your living needs. And then mostly for the scholarships, it's mostly where the government covers everything, and then you would need to pay it back or have that alternative to go back and study. And that's how it was explained to us by our education attaché.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So is it a must for you to do Form 6, do your A levels for you to go abroad?
Not necessarily. So it'll depend on which route you want to use. So there's people that, one of my housemates, he did his, what's it called, schooling in Botswana and then went to go finish it off in South Africa. He matriculated in South Africa and then came to the UK straight from there. So matric is like from Form 5 or something. So he didn't do that. And then he came straight into, first year. Then there's other routes where you do have to do your A levels in order to get accepted into universities. There's other universities that where you can, instead of doing A levels, can do a foundation year, which is kind of like pre-university level, where you essentially do whatever you need to do in the 2 years of A levels in 1 year, and then go do your first year. But then again, this is also something you need to clarify if you want to get a scholarship/sponsorship, because it'll depend on how they want to sponsor you. Would they prefer to sponsor you to just do your university, or would they allow you to do this alternative version of A levels and then go to university?
Also, just to add on to what Mary Gold has just said, it also depends on the country. because for countries such as Russia and China, they do not require you to do your A levels. Like they don't even recognize them. So you are able to apply straight from Form 5. I, however, did my full A levels because I didn't know this before. And I found out only after I had finished my Form 6 that the scholarships I was applying for didn't really need the Form 6 that I did, and I could have just gone 2 years earlier. So this is an option that is also open to you. So it depends on where you want to study. And it also, again, like Marigold said, depends on the sponsorship or scholarship agreement that you would have. So pay attention to that too.
Yeah, anyone else have any questions? Any burning questions? I had mentioned earlier that would give you our socials and everything. So on LinkedIn and Facebook, we are The Runway. Our website is theglobalrunway.org. So please feel free to reach out to us and contact us on any of these socials. I mean, we still have a few minutes left. If anyone thinks of something, they can ask. No question is too dumb or too small. Please feel free to ask anything.
Yeah, I have a last question. So besides good marks, what else is needed for you to get like a sponsorship or for you to school abroad? Because I once heard that you're supposed to have like sports or something.
I think each of us can answer what we've considered. So for me, when I was applying, so I did need to have. It doesn't necessarily have to be sports. It's just any extracurricular activity. The purpose of this is to show like your ambition to do more, and what other things have you been involved in, team working, what other things are you interested in. It expands you as a person, because now you're not just a one-dimensional student. You're not just someone who studies. You have more to you. You have more to offer, and they just want to see the various aspects of who you are, what else you'd want to be involved in. So it does. So yes, you can be in sports. You can add that if you're in any type of committees, like I don't know, the debate team, if you have those. If you've played for, if you've done anything for the district, they used to be like youth games or something. If you've done anything outside of your academics, make sure this is visible to them, especially things like a personal statement. They will ask you these things because they don't want to, like, universities are looking to hire dynamic type of students, people who can, when you come into uni, you're not just going to be in the classroom. You're going to be able to reach out to other people and dig into different things.
Yeah, I think Marigold's kind of summarized it. Sorry. Tilo, can you go on? Can I just do something?
Okay. Again, because of the difference in scholarships and the way that we get accepted into universities, I'll talk about the Russian government scholarship. So what happens is that DTF, together with the Embassy of Russia in Botswana, well, mostly DTF, decide who's going to be given this scholarship. And one thing for you to take note of is that they require, like, they look at points, like you have 48 points or 46 or whatever the case is, and they don't necessarily take A stars. Like, they don't require you to have a certain number of A stars or whatever the case is, such as the Top Achiever Scholarship. Mind you, there are a lot of people who are applying for this scholarship, so they do look for these extra things. but it doesn't need to be sports or whatever the kid, or like it doesn't need to be sports. Like I never did sports. Like Fifi knows, every time we had to go and do sports, I was always running off and doing something else. But I was active in the student leadership community, and there are also other people who are active in other things from other high schools as well. And also another thing is that they only send out like 21 students a year, because there's a specific quota that is given to each and every government, such as the government of Botswana. This is because the tuition is not paid by Botswana and it is paid by the Russian government. So my advice to you would be to have those extra things, whatever it might be, so that you might be like more considerable when people are assessing your application. And then one thing that you didn't ask, but that I will just add on because I started talking about the Russian government scholarship, is once you have been told that you're going to get the scholarship and DTF confirms that you are part of those people who will be sent abroad, getting into a university is not as tough as it is for the UK and other universities, where they all have the specific requirements and so on. So when you've been confirmed that you're going to get a scholarship, they ask you to list out 6 schools that you'd possibly want to go to in Russia anyway, whether it's in Moscow or in a different city or whatever the case is. Then from these 6 schools, one of them is going to accept you. Like it's a given. Like they can't just come back and say, oh, like we can't take this student because of 1, 2, 3, 4, XYZ. So that's the main difference that we have in the procedures between the route that you would take when you're dealing with the top achievers and the route that you would take if you're dealing with other scholarships. And I suppose that it's also different for the China one. So again, do as much research as possible and do try to get like the specifics of each of these things, because they can vary a lot.
Thank you, Tinolo. Our time is up, but if you do feel like you want to ask us any further questions on those socials that I mentioned, please reach out to us. You can even reach out to each one of us personally. I think each of our LinkedIn's is our full names. So we're always open to answer any questions that you may have. And just the bottom line of what we wanted to share with you guys, there's so many opportunities out in this world. You're going to be living with yourself for the rest of yours, not like you're going to be alone. I mean, like one person you're going to be with for the rest of your life is you. So you want to make sure that the choices and decisions you make today are things you're not going to regret in future. So you don't want to limit whatever opportunities you could have. So put in the effort now. Yes, as we'd like to say, there's always opportunity to have a good time and stuff like that. But make sure you need to do what has to be done first. And then you can tackle whatever else things you want to do after that. And yeah, hope you guys have a good rest of the year, and we wish you luck with your exams. And we thank you for listening to us. And yeah, that is the end of our talk. Bye. Feel free to drop off the call as and when you wish. And have a good day.
Thank you so much. It was lovely.
Bye. Can I ask you guys to stay on for a sec? Thank you for